When it comes to choice, decade-specific analysis, is there such a thing as too much? Take music, for example. When referring to the great works of such beloved artists of yesteryear, you think of it being extraordinary, soaring, adventure making, helping us in our wild imaginations to awaken, to come alive to the essence of your dreams and fantasies. Today, we, the Caramel Apples, will take you through the orchard sweet spot to dive into the world of singer songwriter Richard Marx, a timeless example of raw talent back then that's more deserving of its masterpiece status. Hello, Orchard Archivers, and thank you for taking the time to journey back with us again this week. And don't forget to subscribe. We so appreciate your continued support. I'm Kennedy Rizzo.
And I'm Cooper Lee.
And welcome to our orchard. This week we have an exciting topic to tickle your ears with.
Yes, yes, yes. We're going to talk about Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter Richard Marx. And am I ever excited to do just that?
Me too, Cooper. He was definitely a most recognizable fixture on the 80s radio airwaves and musical countdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I feel he and his music were memorable in ways that sort of caused him to stand out in a good way among the competition and his contemporaries at the time.
I so agree, Kennard.
Yeah.
Richard Marx was not only handsome and talented, but he was extremely passionate about the music he desired to share with the world. And one could easily tell or pick up on this as they enjoyed his music.
Yes.
You could literally hear it as he gracefully serenaded the airwaves.
Oh my goodness, yes. Richard Marx consistently contributed to that feel-good, fondest, most innocent memories of our life during that era.
Yeah.
And as you said, you could easily pick up on the genuine lyrical investment he emoted as he sang some of our favorite classic 80s hits.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be glued to that weekly countdown with our dad's old clunky old school tape recorder and a cheap 3-pack of blank tapes. All of this production just so that we could catch any and all of our favorite artists at the time, Richard Marx being among them.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I so remember that. and making virgin strawberry daiquiris or frozen pina coladas as we listened to those musical greats. Great times those were.
Yeah.
The 70s and 80s were especially times ripe in showcasing creativity, spreading happiness and joy, breaking down barriers, and thoughts of healing the world, one song at a time.
Yeah, so on that note, let's see how much healing Richard Marx accomplished then, shall we?
Yes, let's.
Okay. So, Richard Marx was born on September 16th, 1963, in Chicago, Illinois, and was the only child of Ruth, a former songstress herself, and Dick Marx, a jazz musician and founder of a jingle company in the early 60s.
Wow. He's gotten a lot of musical background and exposure from very early on. That's very interesting.
Yes, it is. And that brief reference about his father being the founder of a jingle company, Richard Marx began singing commercial jingles for his dad at the tender age of 5.
Oh, that's cute.
It is, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, fun fact.
Okay.
The American public has interest and responded to products donning the scores Dick Marx wrote. Perhaps you recognize some commercial ditties as Double Your Pleasure, Double Your Fun for Wrigley's Double Mint Chewing Gum.
Okay.
There's 2 scoops of raisins in every package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran. And aren't you glad you used Dial for Dial soap?
Wow, talk about nostalgia. That was a true blast from the past right there.
Yeah.
Many a popular jingle for almost all products back in the day had a most memorable, infectious familiarity to them.
Mm-hmm.
You'd hear a song and you'd instantly, almost always, be able to identify a product. That's so cool that his dad was super duper instrumental in that endeavor.
Truly was.
Music is definitely in the DNA in that family.
Mm-hmm.
So as the years rolled on, Richard Marx began writing songs as a teenager, which again isn't shocking at all now, is it?
Not at all. At 17 years old, he had a brief brush with the iconic pop singer Lionel Richie
Oh.
when Marx was still residing in Highland Park, Illinois. A tape or recording of his songs found its way into Lionel Richie's hands. Richie detected serious potential with Marx's musical prowess and told him, and I quote, "I can't promise you anything, but you should come to LA," end quote.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty crazy.
Yes.
So not only do you have someone positively touting your musical talent, your talent potential, but that it's coming from someone of megastar status himself, like Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
One can only imagine how high in the clouds Richard Marx was and feeling in that moment.
Soaring.
And did anything ever come of it? Well, we are talking at length about him today now, aren't we?
We are. Richard Marx has been known the world over as a remarkable singer-songwriter since 1987. Songs written or co-written by Marx have topped the charts for over 4 different decades.
So true. So, from that early invitation from Lionel Richie, guess what transpired?
What?
Well, in the early 80s, Richard Marx started his musical career in Los Angeles as a background singer songwriter for other artists.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got to start off somewhere now, right? So, ever determined to become a solo artist, he reserved fine compositions he had written that had always gotten a thumbs up when he presented them for other artists. And it was those he felt he could have placed the easiest. So here he was quoted as saying, "I didn't want to give away my best songs and felt if these lyrical gems were to come out on the airwaves, that he knew he should be the one to do it," end quotes.
Wow, this is a beautiful thing hearing that the valuable stepping stones that started linking up to his impressive music career.
I so agree. His story is a fascinating one.
Mm-hmm.
When the deal with Manhattan Records came through in early 1986, he put everything else on hold and poured himself into his album as a challenge to show what he really could do.
And as a result of accepting that challenge, 5 separate singles were released from that album. All of them very successful at blazing up the Billboard charts.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Richard Marx became the first male solo artist in recording history to reach the top 3 of the Billboard Hot 100 with 4 singles from his self-titled debut album. I have to say that this is my absolute favorite album of his. Then again, most things were extremely sentimental for me in the years of 1987 and 1988.
I agree and totally know what you mean. So, the Fabulous 5, the discography off of this album is Don't Mean Nothing, Should Have Known Better, Have Mercy, Endless Summer Nights, and Hold On to the Night.
Okay.
Fun fact, in the video for Don't Mean Nothing, Richard Marx's future but now ex-wife appeared as lead female in that video. Pretty cool, huh?
Negatory, not cool.
Huh?
I vividly remember when on one of the weekends with their famous countdowns of that year, that it was announced that he had indeed married actress Cynthia Rhodes in the height of his success. I remember thinking, oh, no way. How could he go and do this and betray his many teenage female fans like this? Totally cool points lost, but thankfully not too many. His eye candy factor kept him in play.
You are absolutely nuts,
I
Kenner.
know.
But I feel ya. How many stars at their peak was riding that success wave and decided to seal the deal with their one and only, making them their one and only
Yeah.
officially? A great way to break tender teenage hearts the world over. But let's get back on topic, though.
Okay.
The album went on to number 8 on the Billboard charts and spent a whole, count 'em, 86 weeks there.
Good grief. That's, the album's first single, Don't Mean Nothing, hit number one on Billboard Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks chart on July 4th, 1987. And his first
Mm.
number one pop single, Hold On to the Nights, also hit and ranked on Billboard's Hot 100 in mid 1988.
Wow, that's impressive. The album received praise from the music critic Stephen Thomas Erlewine, stating that Marx's self-titled debut album was a, quote, finely crafted record of mainstream pop rock filled with carefully constructed radio-ready tracks, end quote. It was no surprise that the album became a huge hit.
Dude, how's that for someone to hear that type of upbeat praise and excelling positivity over your work, your baby, so to speak, that you
Yeah,
poured your heart and soul into? It
exciting.
is, because he had that dream and passion, and he went all in to become a mainstream solo artist. So
Mhm.
to hear that level of positive feedback about your musical passion and creative works finally realized at that level, that would be
Mhm.
absolutely nothing but mind-blowing and humbling.
Yes. Talk about your core dreams coming true.
Yes.
That's just awesome sauce. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
And another endearing note about this album is that Richard Marx wrote the lyrics for all of the songs on it, all but one. No, actually two songs.
Oh, okay.
That's Lonely Heart and Remember Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
The sweet part is that he dedicated this album to his parents, of which at the time of this dedication, his father, Dick Marx, had passed away.
Oh, that's really touching. My
Mm-hmm.
goodness. Okay. Well, speaking of that song, Remember Manhattan, let's jump back a bit to when he signed on and worked with Manhattan Records. They really helped him set up and become the catalyst for Marx being able to, take the reins in launching his career.
Mm-hmm.
He gave them raving credit in being instrumental in allowing him to spread his creative wings, so to speak, saying that the record company was completely behind his writing and his voice, and that he was pretty much given the freedom to make the album that he believed in.
Okay.
So this right here is, a true artist dream come true.
You said it. I mean, to have that creative openness to allow his talent and vision to organically blossom into the melodic masterpieces we've come to know and still cherish today.
Absolutely.
So Richard Marx hit pay dirt early on in his career with this development.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your favorite song of his, Cooper?
Oh, let's see. I have to say I really like the songs. There's two of them.
Okay.
Should have known better, because kind of like, to me, it's the quintessential 80s movie theme song, for like a
Okay.
trailer.
Yeah.
I could totally hear that at the end of one. And
Okay.
I would say the other one is Endless Summer Nights. How about you?
I too really dig Endless Summer Nights.
Okay.
And I like how the instrumental arrangement at the beginning of the song resembles a passing train.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Okay. Here we go again about Rizzo's crazy love of trains.
Nothing wrong with trains. I love them.
Quick, Cooper, you got to save the moment and get back to this.
Hey.
Okay. So in 1987,
Hey.
became the first new artist played on, get this, 117 radio stations nationwide during his initial week on the charts.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's super cool. What else you got?
So to go back to my two favorite picks, the movie theme song, or I guess I should say the trailer, Should Have Known Better, and Endless Summer Nights hit number 3 and number 2 respectively on the US Hot 100 chart.
Okay.
The fourth release of the album, the endearing ballad Hold On to the Nights, became his first number 1 hit.
Okay.
So, with all of this album soaring success, Marx went on to his first world tour, opening for, get this, REO Speedwagon.
Oh, I love REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, another great retro band.
Yes.
But things soon switched up and he was headlining his own shows.
Okay.
I wonder how often that happens.
Right?
Yeah. Now, this tour became his life for a span of 14 months. So, to say that this album blew up would be quite the understatement, for it went triple platinum.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Marx was so a part of the soundtrack of our younger years.
Mm-hmm.
I actually used to mock the way older folks reminisce about days gone by, but we now totally understand that.
Oh, boy, do we ever, but
Yeah.
we're not that old.
We feel like it, though.
Oh, and talking about the many highlights of Richard Marx's career is quite enlightening and a lot of fun. But there really is a bigger takeaway from his account, which is that he's a great example of how important it is to go after your dreams. You make it happen and to never let go, never give up.
Yeah, that's right. Because this is part of that free feeling, the sky's the limit mindset that was so prevalent back then. And really set the tone of the 80s.
Totally 80s.
Love him. Because it felt like amazing adventures were always just waiting around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Now somewhere between then and now, a lot has changed as we as a society view things and even each other.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's much more negative, melancholy outlook on life and where things are heading as the underlying theme. And, we actually do know why, but this causes folks to be more reserved, unsure, and pessimistic about moving ahead and going after their dreams and such.
Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of that negativity does come from others.
Yep.
Sadly, so many times it's from those closest to us.
Yep, again.
Although they may mean well, there still may be some negativity and backlash over ideas or outlook presented.
Yes. It's good to try not to let the opinions of others define you or your dreams. And thankfully, Richard Marx heeded that sound advice.
Yeah.
He reached for and touched the stars.
Who? Richard or his mullet?
Oh my goodness.
His hair was sure reaching and touching the stars.
It was.
He was rocking that mullet.
He really was. All the glorious 80s.
You say that again.
A time when hair was way bigger than bodies. While on tour, or on the road for his tour, Richard Marx was busy at it once again, writing more tracks that became his second album, Repeat Offender. This was released in mid-1989 and ranked number 1 on the Billboard Pop Albums chart. It also certified 4 times platinum here in the States.
Wow. Okay. That's a truly tall order.
Yeah.
And in coming up with new music, Richard stated, and I quote, "Some people might think that it would be easier this time around, that I could just kick back. But the truth is, it's harder. I've got more to prove." End quote.
See, he's so right with this statement.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that may have thought or implied that the process of creating a second time around or beyond, simply hasn't known the rigors and stress expected of an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Trust, it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
But his hard work did pay off, and Marx himself proved what he was about once again.
Yes, he sure did. His first two singles, Right Here Waiting and Satisfied, both hit number one, giving him a total of three consecutive number one hits.
Okay.
The third song, Angelina.
Oh, I love that song, Angelina.
I know you do.
Great song.
It ranked number four, making Marx the first solo artist to reach the top five with his first seven singles. He also received his second Grammy nom in 1990 for Best Pop Vocal Performance Male, say that 5 times fast, for Right Here Waiting.
He then launched on a second world tour in the spring of 1989, performing in countries like Australia, Singapore, and Japan.
Wow.
But interestingly, he had the once in a lifetime opportunity to perform the Beatles song Help at the Berlin Wall late 1989, which, too, that instance was a huge cultural marker of in and of itself, that being the Berlin Wall. And Richard Marx had a huge part of that.
That is huge. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to go to all those different exciting places, that would really add to that whole dream from Illinois to Singapore.
Right.
I mean, wow. Well, he did go on to make more hit music and still continues to make music and performs to this day. He had some business and contractual hiccups over the years with various record labels that he was connected with. One that comes to mind, I think, was Capitol Records.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That was one that I think that we had read about.
Mm-hmm.
But a deeper dive would be required to get all the intricate details on that. But thankfully, Thankfully, we're limited in going there due to our designated decade parameters.
Yes. We're only giving you the sparkling highlights of his career that peaked in the 80s, which we so hope you've enjoyed and remembered well thus far.
Yes. And I guess Richard Marx did spend a year grappling with contractual issues with who we mentioned before, Capitol Records, when he went on to release an album, Flesh and Bone, in 1997. Now, the album fulfilled his contract, but, after being independent of them or anyone else, he actually decided to start his own label, Signal 21. Ugh. That ever familiar pesky red tape of Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, a lot of fiery hoops to jump through.
Oh yeah, always.
But Richard Marx kept reaching for the stars, and not only did he find success with realizing his dream of becoming a solo artist, but he still writes for and collaborates with numerous top-name celebs like Donna Lewis, Keith Urban, and Cher. He also found wonderful success in his personal life as well.
He sure did. We'll briefly mention that we talked about, I think, earlier on, the female lead in Marx's first video, Don't Mean Nothing, actually became his wife.
Oh, many a teenage heart he broke.
Yes, when he married Cynthia Rhodes in 1989. 25 years of marriage and 3 sons later, they decided to separate, and then they sadly divorced in 2014.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear of a couple sharing a family and long life together, 25 years and then coming to an end.
Yeah, that's a milestone there.
Yeah.
But that didn't slow Marx down, for he is now happily married to former MTV VJ, Daisy Fuentes. They tied the knot in 2015.
Oh my goodness, has it been about 5 years already?
Yeah.
I remember that they officially announced the happy occasion on his Facebook page.
Oh.
Yeah, what a knockout couple they are. Talk about ranking as a high 8 or 9 as a couple. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And he being the essence of music, and she being a former MTV VJ. What are the odds? I think that is just awesome, cool. We're happy for them.
You know, that kind of coupling just makes sense.
It does.
And by the way, there, Kennedy, I'm so glad that this marital status change no longer has an effect on you. Seeing how that would not sit well with your hubby.
Oh, well, I took care of all that. That's why I replaced all that old 80s and 70s loves and all that stuff. I replaced it with my love of trains.
So I'm totally happy that we got a brief peer into the fabulous life and career of one of my favorite singer-songwriters, Richard Marx. He created real music which fostered for us the best childhood memories. I so miss the 80s, back when music was music.
That's for sure. I feel so sorry for the younger generations right now. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays don't know what good music truly is. I mean, some probably do, but let's be honest, most
Mm-hmm.
of them don't. Sadly,
Yeah.
kids now have a heavy dose of auto tune.
Yeah. Songs back then had more positive, fun messages and themes, talking about love, romance, having a good
Mm-hmm.
time. And so many of the songs dialed up emotions and feelings that tapped into your imagination and provided a relaxing escape.
To now, in the present, you close your eyes while hearing these retro gems, and you're automatically whisked back to that time period.
Sure are.
You can still feel the emotions you had back then in an instant. Almost
Mm-hmm.
as if you were just transported back there. And
Yeah.
that is the true power of music and warm nostalgia.
Yep, you said it, Kennard. They sure don't make music like they
No,
used
they
to.
don't.
So, for our orchard archivers, which of Richard Marx's creative work stands out to you, contributing to your personal soundtrack of the 80s? Also, we mentioned that Marx had 3 sons. Can you give us their names and ages? We love some good trivia, just as much as covering good retro topics of the 70s and
Yes.
80s. We appreciate the feedback and can't wait to hear your thoughts and your answers. So please keep them
Yes,
coming.
please keep them coming. So, Richard Marx was a great example of how important it is to never give up. Don't let the opinions of others define you or your dreams. This was when music was music. There was a lot of raw talent in the 80s, and Richard Marx had glowing proof of that talent by gracing the airwaves year after year with that soft, soulful voice.
Mm-hmm.
Good music, even better times. Well, that's a caramel apple wrap. Ready to do this again soon? We sure are, and until next time, we'll be right here waiting. And that's it for this week's episode. To make sure that you never miss out on another second of our Caramelicious podcast, meet up with us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Bye for now, and thanks so much for listening.